Well, my mother collected all the manuscripts, all the scores, put it in a big bag and gave it to me with the hope that I would be successful at some time to have it played again. It took a long time, and during all that time, there were a couple of famous plastic bags next to my record collection, and until the moment kind of emerged.
With bringing these new works with the orchestra out, you can't describe it. It's a discovery. It's a discovery, and that transforms throughout the rehearsal process to the concert. And then you wish you could do it 800 more times.
What was most interesting to me is starting from learning my own part, and of course not having, any knowledge of recordings or, historical background, just learning my part on its own, putting it together with the whole orchestra, and then getting to hear it with solo violin was an interesting experience, and it was kind of like layering everything on top of that.
This project has been a really exciting, but yet also very scary project for me, because it's really rare that we get an opportunity to play a piece that hasn't been performed for decades. And it's scary in the sense that we don't really know what it sounds like. So there's no recording, there's no archival reference to it. So in that sense, it's really up to me. I have the responsibility to really make this piece alive. I think the second movement is really the heart of the piece. It almost seems like time stands still, and there's a lot of colors that we're able to explore. It's kind of a conversation between the orchestra and the soloist.
We looked at these works, and here we discovered a whole wealth. It's not just a violin concerto, but a whole wealth of other works that have not been performed in close to 80, 90 years.
After meeting Johannes Deiring and hearing the Saskatoon Symphony Orchestra's first rehearsal of the music for violin and orchestra, I was really excited to research Heinzmann. We knew that he had been a well-respected music editor for publishing companies Baron Reiter and Schott. And we learned through our research how valued his editorial work was to contemporary composers like Arnold Schoenberg, Ernst Krenek, and Hans Werner Henze. And some of these composers had been explicitly denounced by the Nazi Party.
We were excited to discover more about his own compositions. Upon cataloging his manuscripts, we found that he composed about 48 works, mostly in the 1920s and 1930s. After looking at these manuscripts, we chose 5 intriguing compositions that varied widely in style, and we created performing editions. It was really rewarding to take a handwritten score written by the composer. It feels really personal, and create it into a clean manuscript.
His early works were very expressionist. They're not afraid of exploring the painful aspects of human experience and depicting them musically. This is what we see in the miniature song cycle, 3 songs on poems by Henrietta Bray from 1928.
These 3 pieces as a set, they tell one cohesive story about a woman, or anyone really, who is experiencing a multitude of emotions while she waits for her loved one to come home.
Die
And the third one, there's a tone shift because the person who they were waiting for has arrived, but because they were waiting for so long, they're not gonna let them off the hook so easily.
In the mid-1930s, he really started to explore instrumental works. While he backed away from the expressionist extremes of his earlier work, his music remained adventurous in its harmonic language and how it occasionally shows the influence of jazz and ragtime. And these were styles that were becoming very controversial in Germany under the Third Reich. We can see this especially in some of the works in his piano suite. In his duo for violin and piano from 1936, we hear how he integrates dissonant chromatic chords with the violin's lyricism and a folk-like interlude. Heinzmann didn't serve in the Second World War, perhaps due to illness or his reputation as a composer, and instead he worked as a music coach and a music director. After the war, though, he composed very little. One exception is the cabaret-like song Am schwarzen Markt, or On the Black Market.
It's all about the black market and how, the economy was in shambles and you could only get things really through the black market. They're getting chocolate smokes, American smokes like Lucky Strike, and yeah, it's all the stuff you can't get.
Am schwarzen Markt, da findet man die Gaben, die uns seit langen Zeiten schon verfehlt. Am schwarzen Markt kann man mit allem handeln, wenn man das Hausgeschäft nur recht versteht. Wie Zigaretten sich in Kaffeebohnen wandeln, wenn nur die Zauber durch die rechten Hände geht. Tabak für die Küze, Pfeife grob im Fan im Schnitt, Fenster, Toiletten, Seife, weiß im Fenster geht. Echten Kochnacht wohl, wir wetten, man dir gerne zeigt, die beliebten Zigaretten, Kammerluki Streik.
Towards the end of his life, Moehn was inspired to compose once again. He returned to an iconic piece of literature by the German author Goethe, which he had attempted to set in his youth.
Well, how I understood it, it's a wanderer going to his favorite spot on the top of the mountain where it's peaceful and being in peace with his life being over.